Welcome to the very first episode of Lovely, a new podcast by Immigrantly Media. I'm your host, Mehak, and let me start by saying this is not an advice podcast. I'm not here to tell you what to do. Well, maybe sometimes. On Lovely, you'll hear from me, my guests, and occasionally your inner thoughts, because I guarantee there will be moments where you'll think, wow, I feel so seen right now. And other moments where you'll probably think, did that actually happen to her? And spoiler alert. Yep, it did. Totally did. And since it's Valentine's Day, we're kicking things off with the ultimate love topic, matchmaking. We have two amazing guests lined up to talk about their thoughts and dating experiences. They're also on Hulu's most recent show called Muslim Matchmakers, so you know they're legit.
Let's get some people married. I want you to feel chosen and I want you to choose. For Muslims, marriage is an act of worship. I'm clocking a baddie.
Are you Muslim and are you single?
Did my mom send you?
As I said, my name is Mehak. I was born in Pakistan, raised in Texas, and now I'm living my full city girl fantasy in downtown Toronto. I'm in my early 30s, single. And in brown culture, that's basically code for saying she's missed her deadline. Everyone's panicking, but trust me, I'm gonna be fine. And here's the thing, I'm not waiting for anyone. I love who I am, I know what I want, and I refuse to settle for anything less than extraordinary. That doesn't mean I'm not open to love. I actually really enjoy the process of dating. It's just that recently my experiences have felt less romance novel and more messy group chat story. And since I'm not spending a lot of my time and days decoding the cryptic behavior of men who like me a lot, but can't manage to text back, I've decided to channel my energy into something better, hosting this amazing podcast. So during the day, I'm working my 9 to 5 in tech and trying to be TikTok famous by night. And in between, I spend a lot of time with my friends, I go on dates, and I'm hosting this podcast. As for my own dating history, let me give you the highlights. I was engaged at 16. Yep, jump scare, but you did hear that right. I also dated someone after for 5 years who converted to Islam for me. Talk about commitment. Didn't end in a happily ever after. And then my next relationship after, well, let's just say it taught me a lot about what I will and won't accept.
Mamas, what is going on?
Now, since our topic today is on matchmaking, I wanted to tell you guys my own matchmaking story, or at least the closest that I've come to matchmaking. So picture this. Last summer, I was living my Brat Summer. Okay, now not the kind that Charlie XCX is living, even though she's iconic. But my Brat Summer was, I am going to say yes to things I wouldn't normally say yes to. So no people pleasing, no overthinking, me being unapologetically myself. And yeah, I was dating a lot. So my girlfriend comes to me last summer and she says, hey, I have this coworker I think you really hit it off with. He's single, you're single, I want to set you up. And normally I would be, I don't know, but this was Brat Summer. So I was like, okay, let's do it. He said, I want to take you out to Soho House. I was like, okay, cool, members only, love Soho House, let's go there. Fast forward to the day of the date. I'm perfectly tanned after a nice pool day. My hair is done. My makeup is on point. And now I'm on my way to the date. As I'm on my way, he messages me. He's like, hey, I'm running a few minutes late, but please go in, give them my name, and they'll have you seated. I was like, okay, cool, no worries. Now I go in, and as I'm waiting for him, I'm like, let me go to the washroom, touch up my makeup. So I do that. So once I'm done, I was walking out of the restroom and then I see this guy and I look at him and I was like, oh, he's good looking, well dressed, but visibly nervous. And I knew that was him. And then we said hi, hello, he gave me a hug and then we walked to our table. We ordered drinks, we start chatting and the conversation is flowing, small talk, getting to know one another. And for like a good 5 minutes, he's just talking about himself, right? Like he's talking about his work and like how much he travels and how he's just recently out of a relationship. And I was like, wait, how recent? And he's like, oh, 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, 2 weeks ago? That's a little too quick, no? And he's like, no, I was just in the relationship for 6 months. I'm pretty much over it. And in my head, I'm like, okay, noted. Made a mental note. For me, that's a red flag. I think 2 weeks is way too soon, but whatever. I'm already here. So we're going to stick it out. Anyways, we, have a few drinks in and he's like, oh, have you ever been to Soho House? Let me give you a little bit of a tour. So now Soho House, for anyone that hasn't been, has 3 different floors. So he's taking me to the different floors. And now the middle floor has a photo booth. He takes me to the photo booth. We try to take some photos and then he goes in for the kiss. And I turn my face to the side because a kiss on the first date is a no ma'am, no ham, no turkey for me. That's a cute second date move. Now, we still got the photos and it is such a cute memory, but we'll fast forward to the end of the day why I did not keep that photo memory. Now, after the date, I did not hear from him for an entire week. And my rule of thumb is you have to message me at least right after the date or at least within the 24 hours telling me how much you like me and how much you enjoyed seeing me and when you want to see me again. Now, since it was crickets, I am not going to be the one chasing you, so I didn't send him any message. But then I got a text from him a week after, and I'm going to read you the text.
Hey, I'm not sure if you care or how you feel, but I did some thinking this past week and thought it might be worth touching base in a month or two. If we're both still single, I had a lot of fun together, but it sounded like my breakup was too recent for you to get invested. I think 1 to 2 months would be enough time passed, and if we both feel like it, we can grab a bite and reassess. All good if not, though.
And when I saw this message, I literally giggled because I was with my best friend and I'm like, why did I not hear anything for a week? And then this is what you sent me. So I responded after a few hours and I was like, hey, to clarify, you did some thinking on my behalf and came to the conclusion that I don't want to continue because you had a recent breakup? Apart from that, is there any other reason you're suggesting this? And he was like, of course not. Simply came away with thinking that may be an issue because you did bring it up a few times. I brought it up 2 times. And he's like, I'm not thinking for you. That was just my read. If that truly isn't a problem, I'd love to get together now. I simply said, no, thank you. I'm not interested anymore. That's why I think matchmaking is so fascinating because it's not just about saying you're single, the other person's single, you two would look good together, let's set you up, right? It's all about values, compatibility, and intention. And I think that's what this date was lacking for me. So I'm really excited to get into today's episode where we talk a little bit more about matchmaking. Today, I have the lovely opportunity, see what I did there, to introduce our amazing guest. I cannot believe this is our first episode and we're starting off so strong. What better way to kick things off than 2 absolute powerhouses? We have Hoda Abrahim and Yasmin Elhady joining us virtually. And I don't think I'll be able to do their intro total justice, but I will try my best. So first up, we have Hoda, who is the founder of Love Inshallah, a matchmaking service dedicated to helping Muslims find meaningful and value-driven relationships. So she's basically the fairy godmother of modern Muslim matchmaking, except instead of turning pumpkins into carriages, she's turning awkward introductions into love stories. And then we have Yasmin, who is a lawyer, a comedian, an all-around icon who's born in Egypt, raised in Alabama, and somehow is able to balance being a legal powerhouse, a stand-up comic, and a mom who still has time to bake for school fundraisers. But I'm so excited to have you both here, slightly fangirling, not gonna lie. But before we get into all the juicy stuff and talking about the show, I want to know, where are you guys right now? Like, where are you based?
I'm based in Houston, Texas.
And I'm based in Washington, D.C.
Amazing. So I'm from Toronto. Have either of you ever visited?
I've been a few times for a wedding.
Yeah, I was just there last month on a comedy tour. It was really fun. And then I did a little YouTube video for a woman named Laylo, Dining Discoveries. It was really, really fun. We went to a Turkish restaurant called Konak, and I had the time of my life.
That's amazing. You guys will probably have a great client base here, though, because dating here, we're in the trenches. Like, we can use your help.
Mehak, are you single?
I am so single. Like, single.
Girl,
do you have anyone for me?
I do. I have a guy in Toronto, Hoda.
I remember.
I have a doctor in Toronto.
Ooh.
He's just picky, but he's a really good guy. He's been through some things.
Okay, good to know.
I need to know more about you.
I like her immediately, Hoda.
I'm obsessed with you two. Like, I watched some episodes and I was like, oh my God, like, you guys are both the dynamic duo, like, icons. Like, and you make the whole process so, like, fun and modern. We'll get into that. And selfishly, like, towards the end of the recording session, like, I do want some advice from you guys because I am so single. And I'm going to send this to my mom and be like, see, I'm trying.
And also, could you call my mom, Mehak, and introduce me the way that you did to her? Because she doesn't actually agree with any of that. Could you call me an icon?
She will be hearing from me for sure.
She's the most judgmental human being I've ever met. But anyways, sorry, go ahead.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that.
What is it? Why are they so judgmental? Our moms.
We'll also be giving my mom your phone number so you can tell her.
That's hilarious. Well, now I have my weekend plans. I'm going to be calling both of your mothers and telling them how amazing you are. See, my mom is the opposite. In my mom's eyes, I can do no wrong.
So you're not damaged? That's crazy.
No, I do have some trauma that I am going to therapy for. I haven't told my mom that I'm hosting this podcast yet. But I'm going to visit her in 2 weeks and I'm going to play this podcast for her. And this podcast is all about me telling my dating stories. My mom is pretty modern. You know, she knows my lifestyle. Like, go meet men. How are you going to find someone to settle down? But, we're going to get personal on here. So we'll see how she takes that. But I think once she listens to the episode, she'll probably give me a paragraph of how amazing I was. So she's kind of like the opposite. But it goes to my head sometimes, so she should probably stop.
You're Carrie Bradshaw, is that what I'm hearing?
Oh my God, no. Carrie is such a pick-me. I can't be a Carrie. No, Carrie is such a pick-me. I could see a hint of Samantha, but also just being unapologetically myself, not putting a guy over my friends, things like that. But Carrie with the shoes, I have a lot of shoes, so I could do that.
I feel like I'm Carrie's girl, actually. She'll do the fancy with the casual whatever. I feel like that's me.
I like the style, definitely, not the dating track record.
Yeah, not the brain, not her brain, right? Or her personality.
At LinkedIn, we know hiring is a big deal for your small business. Sometimes it can feel a little overwhelming. LinkedIn uses data that you can't find anywhere else to give you the best candidates, all so you can feel confident you're hiring the best person for the job. And even a little hiring bliss. See why 86% of small businesses who post a job on LinkedIn get a qualified candidate within a day. Post a job for free at linkedin.com/achieve. LinkedIn, your next great hire is here.
Switching gears a little bit and kind of just going into what the podcast is kind of based off. So we're going to have a lot of guests that are first-gen immigrants, second-gen kids. I'd actually love to hear about your connection to immigrant identity. Do you personally identify as an immigrant, or have you dated someone who was an immigrant?
I'm definitely an immigrant. I was born in Cairo and I came to the United States when I was 5. So it's kind of my identity. Yes, I've definitely been in relationships with other immigrants and people who are born in the United States as well. And I feel like I can kind of click with both of them because I came when I was young enough where a lot of my identity is just pretty American. And at the same time, I have a very like Eastern flavor too. So I got like 1 foot East-West combination. It's like spicy, like it's not completely bland. So I like that I have that kind of that flavor. And I think I gravitate towards even working with people who have a little bit of East-West in them.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I feel like I have two answers. Growing up, I did not consider myself an immigrant. I was born and raised in white suburbia, and that was, my experience. I was very much like Muslim, and you could tell I wore hijab when I was 11 years old. My faith was pretty outward from a really young age, but I didn't grow up getting to visit. My parents are from Egypt. I didn't grow up getting to visit Egypt that much. I went once when I was like 7, and then I didn't go again until I was like 20. It didn't feel like I could necessarily fully claim that identity. And the only other identity that I felt like was who I am was American. And it wasn't until I was older, I think, that I was able to like rightfully claim that. Because when I got older and I could like do things on my own, I would travel to Egypt frequently. And then even now in my adult life, I have so many more friends that are like new to the country, essentially, like came here 5-10 years ago. And it's really like helped me tap into that side of myself. Like my Arabic is better and I'm like learning how to cook the foods, and it's been really nice. But no, growing up, I don't think that I ever really felt like an immigrant.
I think I'm in the same boat as you. Like now I'm so proud of like my culture and trying to get into Pakistani cuisine and, learning how to make the food. And a lot of my friends are Pakistani too. So it's really nice to have that sense of culture. So I'm really interested to know that you guys are in the matchmaking business. You set up other people. I would love to hear, has there been a time or a story where you've personally been set up by someone?
No, I've literally never been set up.
Never been
Not
set
one
up. And is
time.
that like a personal choice? Like, did someone
No.
ever try? Okay.
No, I don't think anybody tries with me. Sometimes when you're like the strong girl, everyone thinks that you've got it. So.
And that's because they know that like, you just think you're not picky, but you have standards, right? And like, it's hard to match up to those standards. Would you say that?
I don't think that's it at all. I really don't. I just honestly think people, even when I was much younger, people just thought that I could take care of myself. Even my parents, never tried to set me up. They were kind of like, oh, she's like, is like strong-headed and she's out there and she'll figure herself out. I think there's that notion sometimes that women who are really powerful or strong don't need help or support. But I'm here to say I'm trying to be the big sister that I didn't have. And I'm trying to look out for people in ways that people did not look out for me. That's why I match. That's why I do what I do.
Okay, so you haven't been set up, but you have been on a date before, correct?
Oh, yeah. Oh, so many dates.
Okay.
So many.
Same. Is there like one date that like really stands out to you? You're like, wow, this is like the best date I've ever been on. And when I set my clients up, they should have the same experience.
I had a really great date where we took a walk before we actually like sat down and had a dinner. And it was like, we were kind of like unsure, is it going to be coffee? Is it going to be dinner? And I feel like that walk was a way to determine whether or not we wanted to spend more time with each other or not. I also think that doing something active and sedentary is really cool in a relationship, instead of just being like, I'll meet you at this cafe or I'll meet you for lunch, even though that sometimes brings the pressure down because it's just a coffee. Like, why would you say no, And there's a lot of good qualities to doing things that way as well. I just loved that we were able to walk and talk, and then it was really natural. We were then able to get ice cream, and then it was like, oh, we just did dessert first, so maybe we should do dinner. And it was kind of magical.
I really like that concept. Now, typically when someone would ask me to go on a walk, I'm like, well, what shoes am I wearing? Like, how am I walking in heels? But I like the concept of going on a walk and then it turns into, like coffee or dinner or anything. So I really, really like that. Yeah.
Wear wedges, Mehak.
Wedges.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Hoda, what about you?
I've been set up many times. Yasmin is the older sister, but I actually do have an older sister that would set me up all the time before I got married. She actually was like matchmaking before I was, just like for fun. So I kind of inherited it from her. But yeah, she would set me up all the time because she's like 6 years older than me, was like married. And so it would just like happen. Like she would have friends that would ask her like, hey, is your sister single? And they would have a brother. Scenarios basically just like that.
What's an absolute like deal breaker on a first date?
The way that my family would kind of do this is pretty formal. They didn't allow us to go out alone. So I would either have like a sibling or a parent or some sort of like chaperone. And at one time, me and my sister and my brother were traveling to a wedding in Michigan of a relative. And like there's this guy that had like reached out to my sister or to my parents, something like that. And he was living in Michigan. And so we basically arranged that, all right, we'll all just meet for a breakfast somewhere. And I had talked to him a few times on the phone, like before we actually met in person. Like it was fine, you know, it was good. The phone calls were fine. But then when we got to the restaurant, he was like silent, didn't speak at all. And so I had to just talk to his mom the whole time and like his younger brother, which is fine. I think he was really nervous, but I was like, I don't know what to do here. His mom or somebody like encouraged us like, okay, why don't you guys go sit at another table just to like, you know, give us some time to get to know each other. Cause maybe he was uncomfortable in front of everybody. Happens. When we got to the table, it just got worse. I think I was wearing pleather pants and he was like, oh, you look like Catwoman, and went on this rant about Catwoman.
Oh my God, that's all we can talk about? Catwoman? Oh, that sounds brutal. Oh my God.
I know, right? Yeah. Really nice guy. I think just...
Of course. If you're listening, you're very nice. Just can't keep a conversation.
Hello, Batman.
You're a rare lady, Catwoman. You're right on time.
When you used to go on dates, did you find yourself driving most of the conversations, like leading and driving those conversations, or do you like the other person to lead?
I really love allowing someone to meet you where you are. So if you want to ask a question, I always say answer it first. And so you can answer at the depth and the vulnerability that you want, and then see if someone matches your energy. Like I have found that those are the best kind of conversations where there's room to hear each other. If someone is interrupting you actually a lot, it's actually one of the major signs that they want to hear themselves talk, and there's no give and take, you know, in that relationship. You know, I find that that's kind of like an early sign, like an early red flag. I tell people, like, if they keep interrupting you, they don't really care about what you have to say. And I think in a good relationship, there's this balance between you two. I do think too that a lot of women who are really in their feminine are looking for a man to drive the conversation, and will be turned off if he's simply listening or waiting for you to talk. And it's like such a careful balance, because then you could get the ick from the other direction, which is like, he's talking all the time. All he's doing is talking about himself. He's not asking me about me at all. So there has to be sort of like leadership, I think, in a man who's really in his masculine. He's asking a question. He's telling a little bit about himself. Maybe he's answering it. And he's driving kind of the conversation. I feel like that makes women who are really in their feminine just like light up and get really excited. So I will also say that was one of the cool qualities about that good date, because I felt very much like we matched each other's energy, and he was kind of leading even the planning of the date. That's the other thing. Like when you talk about my worst date ever, was a guy who was late and then did not have a plan, and it was not great. And it was like, well, why are we meeting here? You know, and it was like the follow through wasn't there.
Yeah, I feel so seen right now. Like everything that you're saying, I'm like, yup. I feel like I stopped dating right now just because some of the past experiences are like, you want to take me out, but you have no plan. You have no reservation. I'm sorry, what are we doing? And conversation is a two-way street, right? Like be curious about getting to know me. I'll be curious to know you. And I want to live a soft girl life. In my 9 to 5, I am with executives. I am pitching. I am doing that. When I'm on a date, I'm wearing a dress. I'm wearing heels. My face is beat. My hair is done. Please initiate, lead.
Tell him, Mehak.
I want to feel safe, you know?
You want somebody that's going to like understand you enough to plan a date that is what you would actually want and like have those conversations. But you also don't want to do all the legwork, whether in conversation, whether the planning, even like when it gets further on, like the finances, all of it.
I want to get into the show. You both are on Muslim Matchmaker, which is on Hulu. And I mean, you know, I got a sneak peek and I watched some episodes and I'm like obsessed with you both. But also the show is really amazing and entertaining.
Make it happen, boo.
I've dated Muslim girls, I've dated Hindu girls, and I've dated Caucasian girls. I'm the UN when it comes to dating.
Woo! He's cute.
We are in a swipe left, swipe right culture.
Hinge, Bumble, Tinder, Farmers Only.
Immediately, at first glance, I love that you're bringing Muslim representation to TV. There's a lot of plot twists in the show, like modern twists, plot twists, a lot to learn from. Like even as I was watching people interact and the advice that you were giving, and also just the dynamic you two have, I'm like, I want to go to brunch with y'all. You guys are so fun. It was amazing. And you really take the time to listen to what people want and thoughtfully, set them up. So talking about the show, I have personally seen Indian matchmaking, Jewish matchmaking, and now we have Muslim Matchmaker. So I would love to hear from you. What makes Muslim Matchmaker different from the other dating shows that are out there, what we've seen so far?
Muslims in general are what make it different. There are over 4 million Muslims in America, which is not a small number, but also we come from so many different backgrounds. Like every single country in the world has some population of Muslims. So simply the diversity that you get in this cast, not just in ethnicity, but in, where they are in the spectrum of how practicing they are. The halal haram ratio is what we talk about. How people's careers, we have people like the stereotype of like Muslims in the workforce is like, you got to be a doctor, you got to be a lawyer, you got to be an engineer. But we have like creatives and we have, we do have those doctors, lawyers, engineers as well. But we got to cover such a range of backgrounds in every sense. And I think that's something so special. I think that people have an expectation of what being Muslim is and what it looks like and what we do and what we don't do. And I think that this show is going to shatter every expectation you had in the best ways.
I totally agree with Hoda. Everything she said is just spot on. The show is a real triumph. Watching it, it makes me proud.
What would you say are like the top things you're looking for? 80s music lover.
You don't like hairy men, so all Muslims are out. What are you talking about?
If you're not getting married after a year, what are you doing? We don't have premarital sex.
Why are you single? Maybe the kind of guys that I go for. Hot?
Yeah, hot guys.
You go for hot guys?
Yeah.
It's a pitfall.
And we are the ethnically most diverse minority religious community in the United States. And I think that's what is really coming out in the show, that we are every color. But what's so cool about us as opposed to Indian matchmaking or Jewish matchmaking is that me and Hoda are really peers with the group that we're matching. We are not aunties. I mean, I could technically be an auntie because there's a car seat in the back. I got kids, we rollin'. And so was Hoda. So does Hoda. She was pregnant as hell in that show. She was carrying the baby. She was packing hate the whole time. So we have like mini auntie status, but really we are the same kind of generation. And I would say also the same mix of East-West that a lot of our clients have. And I think that makes the show really special and makes us connect to our clients in very special ways that you can't see on another show.
Like, I wouldn't even call it like auntie energy. Like, it was big sister advice. Like, you were giving, the good, bad, the ugly. So it was all of that. Speaking of like big sis energy, the show follows a few different individuals, obviously, that you are in the process of matchmaking. So I'm really curious to hear, just in even like everyday experiences, there's a lot of moments where you can self-sabotage when you set someone up and you think they're going to be a great match, not only on paper, but also like how they would interact. But the self-sabotage kicks in, one small thing, and they completely disregard everything. So how do you handle those moments?
The whole point of the show is to give people a little bit of a framework of how to date and not to write people off so quickly. And that's our intention behind the rules of 3, which is underpinning the show. Give someone 3 opportunities before you say yes or no and focus on them. Don't be out here just swiping on everybody and trying to move through people like you're slicing butter. Like, people are people and you have to consider them really fully and put yourself in that situation as well. Like, maybe you're nervous. Are you fully yourself when you first meet somebody? Think about your best friends or your longest lasting relationships. How long it took for you to be really bonded. Imagine you wrote off your best friend because the first time you guys met, she gave you the ick because she didn't wear her hair right. Or he gave you the ick because He just like wasn't wearing the right clothes. You're like, what? Or he was holding a cat. I'm telling you, people diss people for all sorts of reasons. I did another podcast and the girl just knocked this guy out because he was holding a cat in the photo. And she was like, ew, feline lover, too feminine for me. And I'm like, what? If a man loves cats, he's gonna love women. What's wrong with you? Like, that's actually the greenest flag, right? So what me and Hoda try to do in this show, and what you're going to see, I think, and share hopefully with your audience who fall in love with this show, is that we try to give really pointed advice about how what you think you want is not what you need.
Absolutely, Abe. Like, honestly, you got to say it louder for the people in the back.
Just to add to what Yasmin was saying, she said it exactly right. You know, sometimes what you think you want or what you think is best for you is truly not what you need. But, you know, you'll see this happen on the show, and we, have this happen probably daily in real life. As much as we can try and help a client get out of their own way and like help them walk one foot in front of the other, if somebody is not ready to go into a relationship with the right mindset and somebody hasn't done the inner work to be able to give love and accept love in the right way, there's nothing we can do. And you'll see that, everybody has their journey, and sometimes we're able to help you move forward. But sometimes what you really need is to take a couple steps back.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yes!
Snaps for both of you.
I agree! That's so good!
Ever met a foundation that does it all? Say hi to NARS Light Reflecting Foundation. Makeup meets skincare in a bottle. It evens skin tone, blurs imperfections, and has a natural radiant finish. Plus, it's formulated with skincare ingredients to help strengthen your skin's barrier. With a newly expanded shade range of over 40 radiant shades to choose from and buildable all-day wear. NARS Light Reflecting Foundation. Find your perfect match.
Pepcid Complete knows that food is one of the best parts of game day. That is, until heartburn strikes. Thankfully, just one chewable tablet of Pepcid Complete provides dual-action heartburn relief with an antacid that starts working instantly and an acid reducer that lasts all day. So you can stay focused on that second helping of chili without worrying about heartburn. All day based on 8-hour symptom relief studies during the day. Use product only as directed.
I'm going to take so many of these learnings and apply it to my own life, because I think like back in the day, I did used to write off people a lot sooner than I should have. But I also think like it has to be a little bit of a mindset reset, because when dating apps came out, it's like this illusion that you have endless amount of options, right? Like the grass is always greener. But babe, it's green where you water it, and you have to like take the time, the 3 dates, the 300 questions. I've done my research.
Yes, over 3 months.
Yes, definitely, right? So I think this is all solid advice that everyone either needs to be like told or reminded of, because we do forget it when we're going through that dating experience. And totally accurate on the cat part. Cats teach you consent. So if a man likes having a cat, you're good. You're solid.
Mehak, you hit it on the head. Cats, because here's the thing, they know. Cats know. They know if you're a good person or not. And not only that, like sometimes they're like, pet me. And then they're like, don't touch me. Don't you freaking touch me. Ow! And then they'll bite you. And you know what? That's like us. That's what women are like. Okay. We're like, like, and then don't.
Like, you give us too much affection, we get the ick. You don't give us enough, come crawling back.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be adopting a cat soon, because I've really warmed up to cats. Like I always wanted a puppy, which I do still love puppies. But also there's like this notion, right? Like you want a golden retriever, like boyfriend or husband. No, I want a German Shepherd. I don't want you to give attention to everyone,
Ooh, I've been loving this Mehak. She wants to be protected. She wants a secure, protective provider. Get her a man, a real man. Oof, I like it.
I mean, hit me up. And in exchange, I will call both of your moms, okay? That will be a form of payment.
I have a guy. Tell my mom to be nice to me.
I will, definitely. And, I haven't had my success story in dating yet, but I would love to hear what was the wildest or most unexpected success story that you've had as matchmakers, whether it's on the show or off the show.
To date, my favorite match that I've made is, I lived in Berlin for a little while in Germany. And I met, these really sweet, really amazing girls. And I had met this girl who had converted when she was 16. Her mom is German descent and her dad is of Sri Lankan descent. And in Sri Lanka, they don't really like Muslims. So for her to convert and become Muslim was like a really, really, really big deal in her family. Like, it took her years to tell her dad. And when she finally told him, he wasn't really like accepting of it. Her mom was, really, really supportive, but her dad wasn't accepting, and like her extended family, it like really, really shocked them. And so even though she didn't voice it, I always knew that she carried the stress of like, how am I going to get married? Like, I don't have anybody in my family that's going to like direct me on this. I don't have like a wali, which is, how do you explain a wali actually?
A protector, someone who's an advocate, really. It's supposed to be an advocate.
Yeah. Yeah. Most commonly, I think a family member, but it can be,
Can be assigned. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I always knew that she kind of carried the stress of like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. So a couple years passed, I had, moved away. We had kept in touch over the years, we're good friends. And then I just randomly, somebody put me in touch with this guy from Sri Lanka. She's just a wonderful person. Like, it was really important to me to find her like an amazing guy. Randomly, a former client told me, he's like, hey, I just met this guy like at this conference, and he was telling me how he's looking for somebody. And so he put us in touch. Talking to him, I had that, and Yasmin, I think you'll know what I'm talking about. I had that like matchmaker, like heart palpitations of like, oh my God, this is the one. This is the guy. I told them about each other. They were both really interested, and it just moved so smoothly and so quickly, like a domino effect. Her dad was suddenly on board, and her dad loved him, and his family was so excited for her. Everything that I hoped she would find, she did. They got married, and fast forward a few years later, she just texted me like last week, like, we're pregnant. I've been rooting for her since the day that I met her. And so that one, like, by far is the most meaningful match that I've made.
That's beautiful. Like, honestly, like I can just see you sparkle when you tell that story. And I know it means a lot to you. I'm manifesting this energy for me.
Inshallah. Yes.
Yes. Inshallah. Inshallah. Thank you so much for sharing. That's beautiful. Do you have a similar one, Yasmin?
There's something special about setting up a convert, because it's like giving them a new family and helping them really flourish in their new identity. I had a couple kind of like that. There was a convert and had several sort of bad experiences in the dating field because it was very difficult to find a family to fully accept him. And that was my biggest prayer for him. I was like, I just want someone whose family will see what a gem he truly is. And when I met this girl that I posited the idea to, it was like, I just met her and I was like, oh my God, she's just so warm. And she comes from such a well-connected family. And they kind of all kind of moved in unison. And so I was like, man, they had multiculturalism already kind of built into their family. They had marriages that were from different regions and different sort of practice levels of the religion as well. And I thought, this might be a soft landing space, for this convert. And alhamdulillah, now they have 2 kids. It's so beautiful. And they've just really flourished. And he has really found so much peace in this family because he has found kind of that acceptance, I think, that he was really searching for that he didn't get from his family. And the warmth that really, I think, should be what Islam is about. It's about accepting, and it's about warmth, and it's about love, and it's about life affirmation for people, especially those who have felt lost or rejected. Like, that's prophetic. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, would find the person who was the most vulnerable and go to them. So I think that there is something really unique and special about matching people who maybe kind of just feel down and out as well, and feel kind of broken by the dating thing or by the family thing or by the age thing.
Yeah, that was so well said. I can't top that. But a firm believer in everything happens for a reason and everything is already written. And it just so happens that they found you both and you made it happen for them. Apart from the fact that, Allah has his plans for everyone and you guys are kind of just the messengers.
This episode is brought to you by Nerds Gummy Clusters, the sweet treat that always elevates the vibe. With a sweet gummy surrounded with tangy, crunchy nerds, every bite of Nerds Gummy Clusters brings you a whole new world of flavor. Whether it's game night, on the way to a concert, or kicking back with your crew, unleash your senses with Nerds Gummy Clusters.
So good, so good, so good.
Get ready, because it's time to save at your Nordstrom Rack store. Now through February 23rd, take an extra 40% off red tag clearance boots, jackets, and sweaters. We're talking the best cold weather styles from Vince, Cole Haan, Sam Edelman, and more. All on sale for even less. All sales final. You never know what you'll find, but you know it's gonna be so good. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
As we wrap up, I can't let you leave without selfishly getting some advice from myself. I told y'all I'm single. My phone is so dry. Like, no one is texting me. I'm not on the dating apps. I feel like I promised myself I will not make another dating profile because it felt like a humiliation ritual. I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore. But I've put it out in the universe. If someone wants to set me up, like, please do that. But, you know, I wouldn't say I'm picky, but I know what I like and I know what I don't like, okay? So what advice would you have for someone like me to be a little bit more open, or someone that would like attract a guy into my life?
Give people a chance. You know, sometimes what you like on paper, again, isn't, you hear Yasmin say, you like hot guys, pitfall, like all those things that we look for may not be serving us. So really reevaluate your criteria. And an exercise I always tell to my clients is like, think about your best friends, the people in your life that you really enjoy their company. They bring out the best side of you. What qualities do they possess that you love? And look for that.
Yes. What Hoda's talking about is core value alignment, right? So the people that are the closest to you, there's core values that you share with each other. It could be 3 to 5. Don't make it a long list. But think about those qualities, because sometimes we go for the mysterious. Sometimes we go for the like fun, exciting, and like flirtatious. I'm not saying that that's you, Mehak, but it could be. But girl, what you really need is to look at who gets along with you. And you need to think about what is familiar, instead of just out here just like chasing like, oh my God, is he gonna text me? Is this toxic? I'm kind of addicted to the toxicity. I'm addicted to the thrill of it, you know? And like, oh my God, what did he say? What did he mean by that? And like, I'm not gonna answer his text for like this long. All of that, if we could just put that to rest, like she said, you can have a little game, but no games, right? Like, no games. And instead think, what are the things that make me feel like I'm at home? What are those qualities that make me feel like I'm at home and draw me into my longest lasting relationships? Those are your core values. And that's what's actually driving you. And that's what's going to keep you together, like glue.
Very much so. Compatibility, not so much chemistry. Like, chemistry is important, but I think in the long term, compatibility is what really matters.
And it ebbs and flows. You know, you might feel chemistry right away and it might disappear. Or even in a marriage, you know, sometimes I love my husband, sometimes I hate my husband, but we have those core values that keep us together.
Yeah, I think when I was dating, maybe even like last year, I was like always like chasing the butterflies or the spark. And I do realize that there should be like, do you have similar goals and values and lifestyle that I want? And then we move on to like some of the other things.
And compatibility will lead to chemistry. Sometimes chemistry does not lead to compatibility. Sparks are good. Okay, sparks are great, but they can also burn your house down. They can also burn you to a crisp, right?
And they did. And I was, heartbroken and sad. And we don't want that anymore.
No, we're going to be in our soft girl era. We're in our healed era. We're going to be attracting the right things. We're going to speak the right mantras, the intentional era. Right, Hoda? So we are praying for you. We're in your corner, Mehak.
Okay, so that is a wrap. Hoda, Yasmin, thank you so much for sitting down with me and sharing so much on dating, matchmaking, and why I apparently need professional help finding a man. So fingers crossed, you guys can help me out with that, or I can find someone on my own.
Thank you so much for having us. This was so fun. Yasmin and I can like talk forever and ever and ever and ever. So thanks for giving us the platform for that. We can't wait to hear what you think about the show when you get to finish it. And we love this conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity and to get to know you. And really sharing your vulnerability. You know, we really honor that. We receive that. And thank you so much for talking to people about the show, seeing it. You got the sneak peek. So you've got the tea. And thank you for not spilling all of it. We really appreciate it. And we can't wait for people to be sipping on that tea and watching the show.
For everyone listening, Muslim Matchmaker is on Hulu, so obviously you need to watch. Get the girls together, get your friends together, watch it with whoever you want to watch it with. And if you loved this episode, I will be back next Friday with another amazing guest. And in the meantime, I will be sending this episode to my mom and say, see, I am working on it. And maybe you should too. But this has been lovely. I can't believe we have just wrapped up our first episode, but we have so many more exciting storylines, plot twists, and just a lot more lovely guests. My name is Mehak, and I will see you next time. Lovely is an Immigrantly media production. This episode was produced by Sadia Khan and Shay Yu, written by me, Mehak. Our sound designer, editor, and theme music was created by Lou Raskin, and other music is by Epidemic Sound. See y'all next Friday.